Here's what you have to understand about Asians. They are racist. Like actually racist. A lot more than America or the EU, especially against other Asians. You know, because of wars and the pillaging that came with it.
The Japanese always trying to take over China!
And the Asian rivalry that concerns us today is the hatred, resentment that simmers under the surface between Koreans and the Japanese. They're always trying to one-up each other. See, in the 90s, Japanese pop or J-pop was in its golden age. Records were selling in the millions. People were making a ton of money. But there was a huge problem with J-pop. It never became popular in the West. It was isolated to Japan, and the Koreans took notice. During the 90s, Korean pop or K-pop was just in its infancy, and they took notice of all these inefficiencies in the Japanese model. J-pop was just not marketable to Westerners, so they aimed to outshine them, not just in Korea but on the world stage. To do this, you had to get creative. See, at the time, you kinda just had to wait and hope that a pop star would just appear out of thin air. But that just takes too much time and is too random. There's no way you could build an empire with just naturally born pop stars. So you realize that the only way to make this business sustainable is to create the pop stars yourself, to groom them from scratch into a marketable sensation. And you didn't just want one or two. No, to show Japan and the rest of the world just how superior Korean culture is, you would need an army of K-pop stars. And to create an army of K-pop stars, you couldn't view them as human anymore. K-pop stars were now a product, and to create a product, you need a well-oiled factory, a heartless, brutal assembly line, where innocent kids go in, and out came obedient, marketable, replaceable K-pop stars. And the ones that don't make the cut, that don't pass the quality control, well, those faulty products are thrown into the trash. My name is Jake Tran. I make documentaries on money, power, war, and crime with my team. Subscribe for more. If you want to win $1,000 cash, starting right now, we're picking a random Instagram follower every single week to win. You just have to be following me at Jake Tran, just got this new handle, and you're automatically entered. Watch out for fake accounts. I will never message you asking for money. This is the ruthless business of K-pop. If you become an overnight K-pop sensation and you suddenly start making a ton of money, you might find yourself in the same problem that many of us Americans face. All of us need loans to make big purchases, like houses and cars, but you can only get a loan if you have good credits. But in order to have good credit, you need a credit card. But to get a credit card, you need good credits. Do you see the issue here? This chicken and egg thing used to be a really big problem. But now we have Extra. Extra is the world's first debit card that helps you build your credits. Yes, you heard that right, a debit card that helps you build your credits. You can even earn reward points just like a real credit card, but minus the credit checks, interest, and risk of getting in debts. Here's how it works. First, you go to the link below, you sign up for Extra and link your bank account, and once you're signed up, you'll get your Extra card in the mail. Whenever you pay for something, you would swipe with your Extra card, just like you would with any other card, and Extra would then cover your purchase. Then they'll auto-pay themselves back the next business day. At the end of each month, all those purchases you made are then reported back to the credit bureaus as credit-worthy purchases, building up your credit with everything you buy. And you get all of this without having to make a deposit or go through a credit check. So if you're ready to join over 125,000 people working on their credit with Extra, pause the video right now and go to extra.app/JakeTran with the link below. That's extra.app/JakeTran with the link below. Thanks to Extra for sponsoring this video. To make K-pop a money-making and influence-spreading machine, you had to make it unique, distinct from things like J-pop. First, K-pop groups are large. They can have anywhere from 4 to over 20 performers in the same group. Like everything in the industry, this was done on purpose. More members would increase the odds that fans would like one of the stars. It gives fans a variety to choose from. One of the shortcomings of J-pop is that it's 100% Japanese, making it hard for Westerners to get into. K-pop, on the other hand, is known for blending Korean and Western styles together, making it much more marketable and accessible overseas. Once the internet and things like YouTube came along, J-pop labels were geo-restricting their music videos to only Asia. They banned the use of their album artwork online. They would even paywall full-length music videos to make more money up front. Imagine only getting to watch only half of a music video on YouTube. The K-pop industry took notice and turned all of this up on its head. Then of course, there's the assembly line of molding a K-pop star, and that's what really sets K-pop apart from every other music genre and industry. At the start of the K-pop pipeline are agents, in charge of recruiting, training, marketing, and more. They're called agents, but really they're product designers. Which brings us to step number 1. Look for naive kids that have that little spark in their eyes, that also fit the South Korean beauty standard. Thin, tall, and feminine looking with adolescent facial features. These are the qualities we want in both male and female stars. Once we pick the boys and girls with potential, that's when the process really starts. Step number 2. Have the kids sign a slave contract that lasts until they're adults. Some haters will call it a literal slave contract, but we like to call it good business. Yeah, sure, many K-pop trainees start training as young as 9 years old, but that's the whole point. It's the best time for them to sign their rights away, and it's when they're most moldable.
그냥 그런 거에 대한 개념이, 계약서에 대한 개념, 뭐 수익에 대한 개념이 막 자리 잡히지 않았을 때라서 예측은 하지는 못했지만 계약 조건이 엄청 막 좋진 않네 이렇게 느끼긴 했었어.
Today, the contract only lasts a maximum of 7 years, but just a few years ago, the typical trainee idol contract could last up to 13 years. Longer than many of the trainees have been alive when they signed. During the contract length, trainees and stars are prohibited from just about everything that makes life enjoyable. They can't eat what they want to, they can't do what they want, they can't look the way they want, or even sleep the way they want. You get to control absolutely everything about their life. That is the price of just attempting to become a K-pop star. The contracts are also designed in a way to ensure that the entertainment agency makes the most money.
그 계약 조건, 그 수익 같은 거 조건이 아무래도 회사가 더 많이 가져가고 아티스트가 조금 더 덜 가져가는 시스템이 대부분이에요.
K-pop trainees must pay back the money spent on training them before they get to make a single penny. So at the age of 9 years old, they've already dug themselves into a lot of debt. And even then, there's no guarantee they'll debut as a K-pop star. Whether they become famous or not, they still have to repay their debts. On top of that, we're the ones entitled to 60 to 70% of the profits, while the artists generally only make 30 to 40%. And yet, expenses are split 50-50. Stars must use that 30 to 40% to pay us back the training costs. So we're basically guaranteed a return on our investment, while the slaves put their entire lives on the line. A fair trade if you ask me.
근데 처음 정산을 받았던 거는 1,300만 원씩을 받았는데 한 사람당 그게 이제 3개월치. 그게 저희가 데뷔를 하고 1년 반 조금 넘어서 만에 받은 돈이었었어요. 그래서 그 동안은 아예 수입이 없었었죠.
Many of the slaves end up taking out loans to cover their living expenses for the years that they're not getting paid. It's a vicious cycle that makes it very hard for slaves to make money, even if they get famous. Kinda like student loans in the US, but on steroids. From the very beginning, we outline the contract to make sure that no matter what happens or how successful the artist gets, we are profiting the most. And finally, step number 3. They set out to spend the next 3 to 5 years of their lives in brutal training. But this isn't just your average after-school activity. K-pop training is intense and severe. Imagine military boot camp, but for turning you into a pop star. Immediately, the training camps force trainees to change the way they act and think. Trainees are put on extreme diets and exercise routines. Many training camps require trainees to be under a specific weight.
진짜 많이 컸어. 진짜 대박.
Trainees often don't even have time to sleep.
개인적으로 제일 힘들었던 거는 잠을 못 자는 게 너무 힘들었어요.
And we also give trainees a helpful nudge to look their best by shaming them into getting plastic surgery and body modifications. After all this time and pain, only around 10% of trainees will ever get to debut as a K-pop star. And for those who are lucky enough to get placed in a K-pop group, things only get worse. The harsh conditions that trainees live under don't just go away when they become stars. Now they're actually making money for us. So if anything, we need them under even more control. We gotta protect our investments. K-pop stars are expected to stay as thin as possible. Many of them use the infamous paper cup diet to lose weight. It involves eating only 9 paper cups full of grains, fruits, and veggies per day, like the little cups you get at a water cooler. Their gym routines also get very extreme. When they practice dance routines, stars wear 4-kilogram sandbags tied around their feet, which is supposed to make them look lighter when they perform on stage, and they get no breaks.
나한텐 진통제 맞으면서 알아했던 사람들이야. 트레이닝부터 끝나면 쉬게 좀.
We make stars bleach their skin, remove parts of their jaw, and undergo whatever other procedures they need to look just right. Does this kind of stuff cause many K-pop stars to develop eating disorders and encourage unrealistic high beauty expectations? Yup. Anyways, we also have to make sure that stars have zero life outside of being a K-pop sensation. Stars aren't allowed to date because they need to seem as accessible as possible to their fans. We gotta keep the teenage girls dreaming. This is also why K-pop groups are all male or female. We don't want fans to think that members of the group could be dating each other. Stars who haven't had their big break are not allowed to spend time with their family or friends. To make sure they're following our rules, we take away their phones so they can't contact anyone we don't know about. And the best part is, by this point, it's too late for them to turn back even if they wanted to. There's nowhere for them to go until they repay us back for their training. So we groom them into becoming the perfect little K-pop stars and send them off to make us billions of dollars while spreading Korean influence all over the world. It's a win-win, right? K-pop has developed into a massive international business that's totally transformed South Korea's economy and influence. Today, K-pop music videos on YouTube have accumulated 86 billion views. Just the major K-pop boy band BTS alone increased South Korea's GDP by $5 billion. That means just 5.5 BTS boy bands add up to the equivalent of the entire North Korean economy. BTS is so successful that their Twitter had 4 times more engagement than President Donald Trump's account in 2019. The group even acts as a political ambassador for South Korea. In 2018, they performed for Kim Jong-un, although the North Korean leader has since changed his mind about the music genre. The South Korean government has praised BTS and other successful K-pop groups for, quote, getting foreigners excited about Korean culture, end quotes. So everything is going according to plan for music labels and the country. One study estimated that for every $1 spent on the K-pop industry, the Korean government gets $5 back. But the problem with treating K-pop stars like their products is that they're not objects, they're people. And when a person is pushed to their edge from years of back-breaking work and criticism, being held hostage financially and kept from their family, some of them break. Sadly, K-pop stars breaking under pressure is becoming a trend. In 2019, a well-known K-pop star named Sully was found dead in her home by her manager. Later, it was confirmed that Sully had killed herself. She was only 25 years old. Sully was one of the few K-pop artists that tried to rebel against the industry's rules. She had a boyfriend, she spoke candidly about her mental health, and she even put her career on hold when she was struggling emotionally in 2014. All these things were looked down upon by the K-pop industry, which led to die-hard fans bullying her relentlessly on the internet.
나한테 오해하지 마라. 난 나쁜 사람 아니야.
Eventually, it all became too much, and for Sully, there was only one way out. There are many stories of K-pop stars like Sully who killed themselves after years in the industry. Only 2 years earlier, a singer named Kim Jong-un committed suicide. In his suicide note, he said, quotes, "It wasn't my path to be world famous. It's a miracle that I've endured all this time," end quotes. At least 7 major K-pop stars had committed suicide by 2019, and it's probably only gonna get worse. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am probably banned in both North and South Korea now, so subscribe to the channel so it wasn't all for nothing. But jokes aside, this is one of the biggest channels on YouTube for documentaries on money, power, war, and crime. We make multiple documentaries just like this one every single week for free, so click that subscribe button below. And if you want longer documentaries that are too controversial to post publicly, our 2 last private documentaries already got age restricted. Our newest one is on the American coup in Iran that set off a chain reaction of a bunch of bad stuff happening around the world, all thanks to one American coup. Really proud of that one. It's already age restricted, and you can watch it right now by clicking that join button below. There's a refund policy too, so if you join and you don't think it's worth it, email us within your first month of joining and we will refund you for that first month. It is only the first month that you're gonna get refunded because a few bad apples decided to abuse this refund policy. You can follow me on Instagram for a chance to win $1,000 at Tran. We've had multiple winners already that we sent the money to, and that's gonna wrap it up. Stay dangerous out there, and I will see you guys in the next one.